Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633. We're taking a look at a very special review. This time we're going to take a look at the Entertainment Earth exclusive Revenge of the Sith Multipack, which contains 4 different clones based on designs seen in Revenge of the Sith. Now this is actually a very special set, since this is actually the first time I've ever gotten a 4-figure multipack in the 6-inch Black Series scale, and it's also the same time, the first time I actually got the Clone Trooper design in the 6-inch scale. I've gotten several different Stormtroopers designs, either being First Order and the one Battlefront Trooper, but this is actually the first time I've ever gotten any 6-inch scale of the Clone Troopers, and that's actually really cool to actually get a hold of the set. Anyways, the box has this really interesting stylized design. It does match the Black Series boxes. When you look on the sides, it's not much going on there. It just has some details and so on, and it does have some of the Star Wars Black Series logo sketched in there. It's got a very interesting look at the troopers and a stylized design. And on the back, it opens up like a book. And I think that's kind of cool. Anyways, so we're going to take the slipcover off and see the contents inside. Pulling out the slipcover, it's basically 4 6-inch Black Series boxes stuck together in a accordion kind of style. From this side, as you can see, it pretty much has the same looks as if you're just stacking 4 different Black Series boxes together, but they are attached together in general. And it does show that, obviously, since it is an exclusive, there are no numbers associated with them. And on the other side, it's just pretty much the names, and you pretty much get the idea from there. When you open it up, though, it actually has this really cool design, since you are able to see all 4 Clone Troopers in a window-style box. And that's actually really awesome to actually have a box style like this. Anyways, we're going to now open the boxes and see the troopers more closely. We're going to start looking at the Clone Troopers more closely, individually. So first we're going to start with the 442nd Siege Battalion Clone Trooper. Now this is actually something that I'm not too familiar with, since I'm not really too familiar with the main clone designs. But this one is, from what I could tell and looked up, this particular type of trooper was under the command of Commander Gree, which also had a very similar style, but obviously it was more of a commander-style design. Anyways, you're going to take a look at the figure itself. The figure has this really nice design, since it has a lot of more stylized battle armor throughout the figure. All 4 figures are actually stylized with different various scuffs and dings to represent long-worn battle armor. And that's actually pretty cool, since all 4 of them have actually different places and the way that it was designed with the battle armor damage in general. So that's actually really cool. That makes them more unique with each individual figure. Articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint, which has a very tight joint of mine, and that's very nice. It can look left and right a bit, but not by a whole lot. He does have swivels at the shoulders. However, due to the armor plates on the shoulders, that's about as far as you'll be able to get without it kind of messing up the shoulder guards, and that's kind of unfortunate. He does have swivels at the biceps, double joints at the elbows, which are really nice. Really nice wrist joints, although it is the up and down kind of style wrist joint. Actually, no, for these, I got confused. These actually have the standard type of wrist joints. He does have really nice waist articulation with a little bit of a ratchet sound, actually. That's really good that it's actually that tight, and I'm really impressed with Hasbro's QC on this set. He has ball joints at the hips with swivels at the thighs. He does have double joints at the knees and full rotation of the ankles, which are really nice. The figure features the standard Clone Trooper blaster, so you're not going to get a whole lot if you've been getting Clone Troopers up to this point. But other than that, this is actually a really nice trooper, and it's really nice to actually get more army builders released in the 6-inch Black Series scale. Now move on to the 212th Attack Battalion Utapau Trooper. Now these are the troopers that are seen in Revenge of the Sith, following Obi-Wan onto the planet Utapau, leading up to Order 66. So this is actually a pretty interesting trooper, and I might actually get a Commander Cody, it's in the 6-inch scale, to go alongside this trooper in the future. Anyways, articulation-wise, the exact same thing we've seen with the previous trooper. Articulation on the head is exactly the same, and this one's actually a little bit tighter, actually, than even the previous trooper, and I think that's kind of interesting. This one can kind of look left and right a little better than the last one, but it's still overall extremely tight. Same joints at the shoulders. However, on this particular copy of the Trooper, for mine at least, it's got a ratchet sound coming from the shoulder as well, so that's really cool. For these, it can move just a little bit more, but overall it's still about the same type of movement that we've seen with the previous Trooper. It does have the same swivels at the biceps, same double joints at the elbows, same wrist articulation we've seen, which is really tight. And I think that's really nice that most of the joints on these Troopers in general for me are extremely tight. It does have a little bit loose joint on the waist, but it's still pretty good on mine. You can look up and down a bit, which I forgot to show in the previous Trooper. It does have really tight joints at the hips for mine. Double joints at the knees, and it can swivel as well. And the same really good ankle articulation. So I think that's really fantastic so far. He does include the exact same blaster we've seen with the previous Trooper, so that pretty much covers this Trooper. And now we move on to the two Troopers that are actually my most favorite designs of the Revenge of the Sith Trooper. And now we're going to move on to my favorite design of the Revenge of the Sith Troopers, known as the Coruscant Guard Trooper in its Phase 2 armor, but it's also known as the Clone Trooper Shock Trooper, and I'm actually more familiar with that particular name rather than the Coruscant Guard. Anyways, it actually has a really nice design, and I think out of all the particular Troopers, I think the battle wear looks the best on this figure. It's definitely seen within the chest armor, the shoulder plates, and even on the back a bit, since it does have few more scuffs from here on the shoulder pad and a few on the armor itself. So I think Hasbro did a fantastic job in the battle wear of this particular figure. Unlike the other figures, though, in the set, he actually includes a different weapon, and that's the longer barreled blaster, and I think that's actually a really nice blaster design. I've seen this particular blaster, at least in the 3 3/4 inch scale, for many of the clone troopers just within the Clone Wars itself, and I think more familiar, for me at least, is the Clone Trooper Commander Cody from the Clone Wars toy line, so that's pretty cool. Before we move on to articulation, since it's once again exactly the same otherwise, we will now look at it side by side with the Battlefront Shock Trooper, which many of the troopers that survived did eventually go in this particular armor. So, just as a comparison, the figure itself was just a tad bit taller than the Battlefront Trooper. For some reason, it's having a little bit of stability issues on it, for some reason. It's usually not that bad, but today, for some reason, he doesn't want to stand. Anyways, we're just going to keep it all like that. So, it's pretty clear that many of the design aspects of the Clone Trooper went into the Shock Trooper design, but obviously the main difference, at least with the toy, is that this one has battle damage and this one's just more of a clean armor. But other than that, it's still pretty close to the design. I do not have the other 3 3/4 figures outside of the Shock Trooper here and the 501st, but here it is next to the 3 3/4 inch Shock Trooper, which I think was actually part of the Legacy line. I forget which particular release of this Shock Trooper was, but it's really nice to see them side by side. Obviously, this one's a little bit different since he does have the back antenna piece, but other than that, it's still about the same design in terms of a Shock Trooper. Anyways, so now look at the articulation points. Articulation points are still, once again, extremely tight on many areas, so that's really nice. The head is still really nice and has some pretty decent movement overall. The shoulders, once again, swivel. And this one, once again, doesn't go very far in terms of movement there. It does have the same swivels and the same elbow joints, same wrist articulation. Really nice ab crunch as well. And once again, it does maintain the somewhat ratcheted sound there. Really tight hip joints, swivels, double joints to the knees once again, and really good ankle movement. So overall, I think this is actually my most favorite figure of the set. However, the second figure in the set that I really like, actually, is the next one we're going to look at now. And now last, but certainly not least, the 501st Legion Clone Trooper. Now these are the troopers that were under the command of Commander Rex and later became Darth Vader's personal troopers. So this is actually a really nice design. I think the blue really looks nice on this particular figure and the design of the suit itself. And because of that, it's actually my second most favorite design of the troopers in Revenge of the Sith. As comparison, here he is next to the Legacy. Once again, I don't remember exactly which one it is. I'm pretty sure both of these are Legacy though. 501st Legion in the 3 3/4 scale. This one has a little bit of standing issues in mine, but other than that, it still looks really nice together. I think Hasbro did a fantastic job taking this design and transitioning it into the 6-inch scale. Outside of all the troopers, though, I think he has the most battle damage out of all the figures. While there's some very minor battle damage on the chest, most of the battle damage can be seen in the legs, and I think Hasbro did a fantastic job overall in the paint and design for the figures in this entire set. Articulation-wise, the head is the same really tight joint, and I think it's really nice that all 4 of the clone troopers in my set here have extremely tight joints in the head. So there's not going to be any bobblehead problems or anything else problematic with the head joints, so that's nice. He does maintain the same swivels at the shoulders with a little bit of ratchet. And once again, unfortunately, the shoulder plates do hinder it quite a bit there. Same swivels, same elbow joints, same wrist joints, which this one is actually extremely tight compared to the rest of the troopers so far. Same waist articulation, with a lot more of the ratcheted sound coming from the left side rather than the right side. Same really tight hip joints. Same double joints at the knees. And he does have the same ankle articulation as seen with all the figures in the set. So overall, I think pretty much every figure in the set, even if they're not my most favorite clone design, it's still a really fantastic figure. So in conclusion, this is actually a very fantastic set that Hasbro has released, and it's definitely a highly recommended set to get a hold of, especially since it contains nothing but army builders, and they transition very well to the 6-inch scale. Now, unfortunately, Entertainment Art did put it at a $100 price point, but it's still a really good set to get a hold of, and I think it's definitely worth it even at that price, since all 4 figures are extremely well made. It's got a lot of paint design artwork, and they put a lot of love into the set's design. And I think they did a fantastic job in the overall presentation of the set as a whole. Now, this set I actually did not purchase from Entertainment Earth. I actually won this in a contest from Jeditemplearchives about a week and a half ago, and I'm extremely impressed to get a hold of this set, and I think this is definitely one of the most highly recommended multi-packs in the entirety of the 6-inch Black Series scale, even to this point. So, I'm actually going to link the listing on Entertainment Earth at the bottom description below, and you can also check out Jeditemplearchives, which is a huge place that you can see a lot of reviews and just comments and thoughts of Star Wars figures as a whole. So I'm actually going to link that at the bottom below as well. So, anyways, in conclusion, once again, this is definitely a highly recommended set, and your best bet is to check Entertainment Earth to get a hold of your set as soon as possible. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hirotaku. Also, please check out Twitter under Darkon633, and don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Please check down the other channels down below, and also, please don't forget to click the little bell symbol at the bottom of the screen so you'll be able to be updated with the next content that I put up on this channel. Anyways, this is it for the 6-inch scale Revenge of the Sith set, and I'll be back with more Star Wars reviews. I'll be seeing you on YouTube. Bye.